Hi, this is Vicky from the Spellbound Bead Company, and in this video I'm going to show you how to make the dot dash bracelet. So to make the bracelet you're going to need 1/2 metre of tiger tail, some 4mm silver rounds, just the 2 of those, 2 oval jump rings, some French crimps, your clasp, and an assortment of glass pearls or other beads. You could use things like facets as well. I'm just using 8mm and 6mm pearls here so you can see what I'm doing clearly. You're also going to need a pair of flat nose pliers and a pair of either wire cutters or old scissors for cutting the tiger tail. So we'll just move those to one side. We're going to start by putting an oval jump ring over one end of the wire and bringing that down so that it sits roughly in the middle. Then over both ends of the wire, or onto both ends of the wire rather, we're going to put a French crimp. So onto both ends of the wire, a French crimp, one of your 4mm rounds, and then a second French crimp. There. We'll slide those down so they're sitting at the middle of the wire. Now you need to leave yourself a little loop at the end. You don't want it to be too big, but you need it so that there's room for the jump ring to just move about a bit. And then we'll take our pliers, our flat nose pliers, and we're just going to squeeze both of those crimps flat. So there's one. Make sure it's pushed up so that it holds the 4mm round nice and tight, and 2. So there we go. So that's our oval jump ring, a crimp, a 4mm round, and a second crimp. Then what we're going to do is thread on the beads for the bracelet. So onto either end of the wire we're going to thread one of the smaller beads. If you were working out of a pearl mix and you had something here like a little a smaller pearl, so something like a 4mm round, they're quite useful to have on the ends of the bracelet because they just can make it a little bit easier to they just taper it down so that it sits more closely. So that's one of the smaller beads onto either piece of the wire. Then, like we did with the 4mm round, we're going to put one big pearl over both ends, like that. And again, separate. Oops. And slide. Now these beads aren't being held in place on the wire like you can do with a floating bracelet or a floating necklace. So we're just relying on them sort of sitting in place. The tension on the wire will hold them reasonably well, but there is a bit of wiggle room, so there will be room for adjustment. Now you can either space these quite tightly together and slide them along, or you can have them spaced out a bit more so that the smaller pearls will move on the wire. So it's up to you what you want to go for. If you've only got a few special beads, this is quite a nice way to use them because it shows them off without them being too crowded, and you can also get away with using fewer beads. So we'll put another large and then a pair of the smaller ones, and at this point we can just check it for size. So if you just wrap it around your wrist, you need to remember that the clasp's going to add a little bit of length, so I think for me that's about the right length. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 of the larger pearls and 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 of the smaller pearls on there. So to finish the second end, what we're going to do is we're going to put on, over both ends, we're going to put on a crimp. Then we're going to crimp that flat, that one bead there. So just as before, just squeeze that nice and tight. Okay, and then with our wire cutters or our old scissors, we're going to trim one of these ends, make sure it is just one, down there, so we'll put that out the way, and then onto the remaining end of the wire we're going to thread the 4mm round and another French crimp, like so, and you're going to make sure that sits over the cut end of the wire here, because what that will do is it will cover the end of that cut wire, because tiger tail, because it's a stranded wire, you've got lots of strands in there. If it's not cut evenly, you can get like a little scratchy bit that can irritate the wrist, so just make sure that's tucked in. And then we're going to put the oval jump ring over the end, and we're going to come back through that crimp and through the 4mm round, and then we're going to pull that down so that we've got a nice neat loop that's about the same size as the one on the other end of the bracelet. And again, flat pliers, one quick squeeze, and that will hold that in place. And then if you've got the flush cutters, if you put the back of the cutters up against the bead, you'll get a nice close cut there. Again, and just make sure all your ends are in. So there's your bracelet. So to attach the clasp, we're just going to use 2 pairs of pliers. So I'm using 2 pairs of flat nose. You could use one flat and one round if that's what you've got. And we're just going to twist that jump ring open, attach the clasp, and twist it closed again. And then onto the other end, we're going to twist that open and whoops, put the end of the tag on, and then we'll put the rest of the bracelet back on, and then we're going to close that back up again. Always open and close your jump rings by twisting, not by pulling them apart, because that will keep them stronger. And there we have your dot dash bracelet.